Hi there, welcome back to Word Master Academy, and this is Terry Main. And today I want to talk to you about time. No, I'm not talking about writing a time travel novel, although that could be fun too. But I'm talking about your time as a writer and how to make the most of it. One of the problems I hear a lot from people is that they say they don't have the time to write. Now, one of the things I find interesting about that is they are very often writing a very long Facebook message about how they don't have the time to write. Somehow they have a time to post a long message on Facebook about not being able to write, but that's another story entirely. I actually do understand this, and I think sometimes it comes about not so much that we don't have a time to write, or even that we aren't writing as much as we should be writing, but rather that we have possibly ended up substituting goals for planning. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, goals tend to be aspirational. They are very often simply a business-like way of talking about wishes. um, they are not always very much practical when you're actually trying to figure something out. Instead, what we need to do is create realistic plans for ourselves and build those plans so that we can actually complete them. By doing this, we will meet our goals more likely than not, and we will not feel as bad about not doing what we think we should be doing. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a plan here. Now, I have this written out in much more depth in my book, Note the No Excuse Zone. You can get it on Kindle, or drop me a note in the messenger, and I'll send you a link where you can order it off my website for a little bit less than you'll get on Kindle. But most importantly is that you think about writing as being part of your total life plan. What are you doing day after day after day? So here are the steps. Number one, make a time inventory. Sit down and for a week, mark down how you spent every 15 minutes of the day. Did you go to work? Were you sleeping? Were you watching TV? Don't be judgmental about it. Just write down what you did. Don't make any real changes. Just be aware of what you're doing. When you finish that, look at go through and take a highlighter. Actually, take three highlighters, different colors, and in one color, mark off everything on your list that was absolutely necessary. I mean, you had to go to work. Um, that that wedding that you went to for your daughter, well, that you kind of had to do. You had a birthday party that for your son, that you had to do. Those things that you had to do. Then go through and mark things which were unexpected at the time. How many of them did you have on average? And mark those off. Then go through and mark those things which you consider to be important, but they aren't vital. In other words, you could have either deferred them or not done them at all, and it wouldn't have hurt. And then in the fourth category, mark off those things which could easily be let go because they just really weren't that important. They may have been enjoyable, they may have been nice, but they weren't really that important to you. You're not going to lose any sleep over them. And this will start to give you an idea of where the gaps are, what things you can start to let go of, what things you can postpone. It also tells you a little bit about how much of your time is taken up with the quote unquote unexpected. And by unexpected, I don't mean things that only occur occasionally, but you knew they were coming. I mean, things that just came out of the blue. The car broke down, you had to get it fixed. You got sick and were in bed, that sort of thing. Okay. After you've done this, this gives you a sense of what types of things you can let go, what types of things you can deal with. Now we're going to dig deeper into this. You need to go through and take a calendar. I like to do this in 6-month segments. Some people prefer to do it in monthly or quarterly. Whatever it is, you need to have a good chunk of time. I'd say at least quarterly as a good beginning. And go through and, you could do this with a calendar you have online, or you could do it just with one of those paper calendars, whatever. Go through and mark off every block of committed time that you have. Now, this would be your work, this would be school if you go to school, this would be your church time, anything that you simply do not think you can cut short. These are things you can't eliminate. These are locked in times. Also include those special occasions, birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. Mark out what if you have a vacation coming during that time, if it's Christmas or New Year's or whatever it is, those things that are important to you. Family events. Maybe you do Thursday night family night. Well, mark that off. Maybe you have a Bible study on Wednesday night that that is important to you. Mark that off. Maybe you've got band practice, or you got to take the kids to soccer practice or whatever. If it's important to you and it's something that your life would be greatly diminished, not just a little diminished, but greatly diminished if you didn't do that, mark it off. Now look through the spaces that were not marked off. That's the time that you have available. Add up those hours. How many hours do you actually have? Now, me, I have, because of health issues and other things, I have 4 to 5 hours a day that I can devote to basically doing just about anything that needs to be done, like cooking dinner or writing or doing whatever. So out of that, I have maybe 3 hours, 4 hours. If I really push myself, maybe 5 hours a day to do writing. Okay, that's good. I know that. I also know that I can write roughly 1,200 words an hour. So each day I have enough room for about 3,600 words to write. But let's say I'm having, that may be easier on this and just call it 1,000 words an hour. So that's 3,000 words a day, 22 weekdays a month. So that's 66,000 words a month. That's what I have available. Now, that's if all I was doing was writing. Now there could be research, there's marketing and other things. So I mark that up. But let's just talk about writing right now. So let's say that you want to write a novel, and you figured out that you can get in 2 30-minute writing sessions per day. And you write at 500 words an hour. Maybe you're just getting started. You move a little bit more slowly. So let's say 500 words an hour. So an hour a day, 5 days a week, that's 2,500 words. 2,500 words times 4 weeks is 10,000 words. So if you want to write a 50,000 word novel, you're going to have to write 1 hour a day for 5 months. That's it, simple. But you're saying, hold on, some days I go slower, sometimes I go faster. Yeah, that's why you want to figure out what you do on average. Way to do this is simply time yourself for each of your writing sessions. Don't move faster, don't write against the clock. Just sit down and time yourself over a period of a couple of weeks. Every time you write, just make a note of what time you started, what time you end, and then figure out how many words you wrote. And then at the end of that time, create an average. If you do that over 1 week period, you write 5 days, say, and out of that 5 days, you were working 1 hour a day, and after 5 days, you got 1,500. Okay, so 5 days divided by 1,500, or 1,500 divided by 5 days. That's 300 an hour. Now you know. Doesn't matter how fast or slow you go. Once you know how much time it takes you, that gives you an incredible amount of planning power. So if I know that I can get in at 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I write 1,000 words at an hour, that's 2,000 words a day, over 250 days a year, figuring in, days, 250 days a year, 2,000 words a day. So, so 250 times 2,000. Somebody's better at math than me. 2 times 250 would be 500. So I could do 500,000 words in a year. 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. Think about that. 500,000 words, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's 10 50,000 word novels, 5 100,000 word novels, 2 200,000 word novels. It all comes down to consistency and planning. So start some realistic planning today. Get out your calendar and start figuring things out. Again, want to remind you to check out my Facebook page. That's facebook.com/wordmasterbooks. And until next time, catch you on the flip side.